Good morning, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar topic, how to delay active shooters from entering through glass windows and doors. My name is James Collins, and I'm the Senior Director of Business Development here at CSBA, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. We will be recording today's webinar, and everyone will receive a link to the recording. If you have any questions for our panelists, please submit using the Q&A function, not the chat function. We will go through all your questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions after the close of the webinar, you can always email us at csba@csba.org. At this time, I would like to introduce our presenter for today's discussion, Jamie Hamilton, Senior Glazing Security Consultant at NGS. And at this time, I will turn it over to Jamie. Jamie.
Thank you, James, for that wonderful introduction. Glad to have everybody here and welcome to today's presentation, which is going to be on how to delay active shooters from entering through glass doors and windows. A little bit of background about NGS. NGS is the nation's leading energy security and branding retrofit company for retail, commercial, government buildings. We are the largest window film contractor in the country. We are licensed and operate nationally. And we have offices all over the country as well. So thank you everybody for attending. And if you have any questions, if you can hold them off till the end, I'll be more than happy to help you with any questions as well. So when we're looking at a building envelope, glass is usually one of the weakest links. Looking at building security from a K through 12 standpoint, from religious facility standpoint, a lot of these buildings have already looked at things like access control, technology, physical security. Glass is one of the last things to be looked at. And as we saw from the Nashville incident and from Sandy Hook way back in 2015, it is one of the weakest links. When you've got a perpetrator that comes up to a door and cannot get access, one of their first go-tos is breaking the glass. Not going to show you the active shooter scenario from the Nashville incident. I'm sure everybody's aware of it, but the perpetrator shot through the glass doors. As you can see, the way that glass breaks into hundreds of little pieces, that tells you that it's tempered glass. That's your standard code for what you should have on the front entries of your buildings. It breaks into a whole bunch of little pieces, and then access is made very easy. When we looked at the entry time on the Nashville incident, that perpetrator was able to access the building in about 20 seconds just by shooting through the glass. We'll show you later on in our presentation an active shooter demonstration that we actually ran with Houston ISD and partnered with Houston Police Department. And on the same type of glass, that 1/4-inch tempered glass, you'll see an access time there of around about 20 to 21 seconds. So familiar times there that it's taken people to get through the glass. Obviously, the perpetrator shot through the glass doors, entered within seconds, and what it did was it put a focus on for schools nationwide to be a little bit more proactive. I think in part, and come from the law enforcement background that I come from, it was because up until that point there'd been a lot of profiling over who the perpetrator is, what type of buildings are being targeted, what states are being targeted, everything around about that. Well, with the Nashville incident occurring, what we saw is that it wasn't the usual profile of perpetrator. It wasn't the usual profile of type of school or education facility, and it wasn't the same profile of area that we'd seen either. So it opened this discussion point to this can happen anywhere. And what it showed was that a lot of schools across the country started becoming more proactive, and a lot of funding get handed out to states across the country as well to assist with upgrading their glazing security and their perimeter security in general. So one of the top findings from the Window Security and Safety Survey is that glass is destined to fail. Being from a law enforcement background, number two, I'll explain a little bit further. First responders aren't enough, and that doesn't mean that they're not working hard enough and they're not doing their jobs. What that essentially means is that they can't respond quick enough to what's happening. And we've got a little slide that shows some facts and figures around that as well. But when we're looking at entry times of 20 seconds, the expectation can't be that emergency responders, even if they are on location, even if they are on site, can respond quick enough. And natural disasters are a growing concern. And that kind of dovetails into that glass security as well, because it's not only for active shooter mitigation or forced entry mitigation, it's there for windstorm mitigation and natural disasters as well. So NGS is a tiered approach to security. We'll roll through these in kind of broad terms, but give you enough information so that you can move forward with a little bit more education and information. So our tier one is our entry level security film system. Now, the important thing to remember with an entry level security film system is that security film was never ever designed or manufactured for forced entry delay. And our tier one, tier two, and tier three systems are forced entry delay systems. Security films were actually designed in the 1970s in response to the IRA terrorist bombings in England and in Northern Ireland. And what it was set up to do was stop fragmented glass from flying across a building, injuring people, and or worse. What window film manufacturers realized later on down the line is that if you add an attachment system, so something that actually attaches that window film to the frame, and you'll see a kind of side profile of that attachment there, it can actually delay access and buy time. And that's what tier 1, 2, and 3 are access delay systems that are there to buy time. So our tier 1 system, and we'll show you the kind of the demonstration footage around about these numbers a little bit later on. Our tier 1 system, everything is applied on the safe side of the glass, and it's there to buy up to about 2 minutes access delay. Our tier 2 system adds an extra layer of film on the attack side of the glass. So it's usually a 7mm exterior weatherable film on the exterior of the glass, and it will buy up to 6 minutes. Tier 3 is a brand new product on the market from 3M. It's technically not a window film. It is a window laminate. It has an elongation at break, and I know this isn't going to mean a lot to you, but elongation at break at about 610%. Standard 8mm window films have anywhere between 100 and 200 elongation at break. It's a 24mm thick laminate that gets applied to the safe side. It's then attached with a structural silicone. And in terms of performance, we're actually testing it next week in Houston. We're going to replicate that active shooter demonstration that you'll see in a minute. But our expectation is that we'll see a multiple of 3 to 6 times on performance from some of the other security films. So it's brand new on the market. NGS have been asked to present it to market, present it to states, districts, stakeholders, and bring the product education. Tier 4 is our access denial system. It is right glass. It's an extruded aluminum frame with a polycarbonate that attaches to the existing window frame. It's there to deny access when attacked, and we'll show again some videos. It's designed not to break. It's actually designed to sit far enough off the glass and where it can actually stop the glass from breaking as well. And then our tier 5 systems are everything level 1 through level 7 ballistic glass. And we install all 5 tiers of these products across the country. So we'll dive into tier 1 safety and security film. Why safety and security films? Cost effective, it's easily applied, it uses the existing glazing. And that important sense at the end there on the bottom left-hand side that you can see is with an attachment system. Why with an attachment system? Because when our installers put window film or security film onto a piece of glass, it comes on a roll. They have to cut around all 4 sides of that glass to get the window film to fit. Now that'll leave a small gap, like a 32nd of a gap, between the edge of the frame and the edge of the security film system itself. And what that means is when somebody attacks that glass, that's exactly where it's going to break around all four sides. It's what we call a doormat effect, and it actually makes access easier because it'll create a large hole or a large cavity where the fenestration or the window used to be. When that attachment system's applied around all four sides, it fills that gap in. It makes the weakest point back to being in the center of the glass, but it's way stronger than what it was before. So how does safety and security film work? Fairly straightforward side of it here. It holds fragmented glass together. So when it's applied to the glass still breaks, but it'll hold all that glass together. It's got a strong adhesive that forms a protective membrane, and it forces the intruder to create an opening through the center of the broken glass. Just to dispel some myths here, security film is not bulletproof. Bullets will go straight through the film and the glass. Bullets will leave behind a hole in the glass. And again, you'll see that from our active shooter demonstration video that will show you. There are combinations of products such as security films and polycarbonates or security films on half-inch plate glass that can provide you with some level of ballistic coverage. None of the major window film manufacturers, whether it's 3M, Eastman Chemicals, SolarGuard, or Madico, present any of their products as being having any kind of ballistic quality at all. And in fact, the governing organization for the window film industry, the International Window Film Association, actually highlighted their concerns over any companies in the country who are presenting security window film as having any ballistic properties. So just be careful of that as you're seeing in your markets. There are some people who are presenting window film as having ballistic properties. What they're talking about is a combination of products. And the problem you have with that combination of products is that if you're looking at a 24 mil film or a 23 mil film or a 21 mil film, and that's the thickness of the film, applied to half-inch plate glass, well, you don't really see a lot of half-inch plate glass on commercial buildings, on K through 12, on religious facilities anywhere in the country because it's dangerous. When it breaks, it can actually, cause serious damage. So most of the specifications for your storefronts for any of your glass is going to be 1/4 inch tempered. And when you put security film onto 1/4 inch tempered glass, it has no ballistic capabilities whatsoever. So what we're trying to do is represent the specification of glass that's out there, putting the correct products on there, and then showing you exactly what those products do when combined together. The second myth, the film is impenetrable. It's not there to stop your perpetrator from gaining access forever. If they keep attacking it, they will get through it. What security film is there to do is to buy time. As we talked about, tier 1 up to 2 minutes, tier 2 up to 6 minutes, and our tier 3 pending testing could show anything up to 8-10 minutes prior to gaining access. I'm not going to really go into this slide. Why safety and security film? I think everybody at this point knows active shooter scenarios and are on the increase and have been since the 1970s. So, but the important thing to note here is that safety and security film is for active shooter mitigation and for forced entry mitigation, even on retail stores or schools or K through 12 or higher education. Isn't a new thing. It was one of the top 5 recommendations from the Sandy Hook Advisory Committee way back in 2015. It was one of the recommendations from the Federal Commission on School Safety back in 2018, that schools should have blast-resistant or security window films to mitigate forced entry. Costly alternatives. So there is laminate glass, there's bullet resistant glass. We talked about NGS being able to provide and install ballistic glazing. The issue we really see with that is cost, lead time, and weight of product, because when you're installing ballistic level 1 through level 7 glazing, the frame system also has to match that specification. When the frame system and the glass matches that specification, you can be looking at re-engineering potential elevations on buildings just because of the extra weight that glass carries. So security films are a very good option to have a low cost option that provides you with delayed access for these types of incidents. So why 3M? NGS are brand agnostic, which means we can buy and install film from any manufacturer across the country. And we named a few of the larger ones there. We generally recommend 3M for security films. Why? Because the technology 3M have with their security film far surpasses that of any other manufacturer. Every single manufacturer, whether it's Eastman Chemical, SolarGuard, Marico, or 3M, have what we call a Me Too product. And essentially, it's an 8mm, for instance, thick film that's made up of two 4mm films laminated together. 3M in their product category have their Ultra series, and their Ultra series is an interwoven, so hundreds of interwoven strands of 8mm film. And it provides it with a tensile tear strength of a far thicker 14mm film. Other reasons for 3M is we talked about why security film on its own doesn't work as an access delay system, and you have to have some kind of attachment system attaching the window film to the frame. Well, 3M are the only window film manufacturer that make their own 3M, their own impact protection adhesive. So a structural caulk that goes around all four sides. Where's that important? It means that when you apply, for instance, 3M Ultra S800 security film to your glass, they provide you with a 12-year warranty. If you add 3M impact protection adhesive to all four sides around there for that access delay system, they'll add an additional 2 years to that warranty. And the other caveat to add in there, NGS is one of 3M's largest customer and one of 3M's only platinum dealers in the country, actually get an additional 2 years warranty on top of the warranty already provided by 3M as well. So 3M will umbrella the entire warranty of the whole security system. If we're using another manufacturer like a Marico or a SolarGuard, we would be using Dow Corning 995, and then you've got two different warranties coming from two different companies. So again, just a microscopic view of that interwoven technology and how it performs in terms of increasing your tensile tear strength and ultimately increasing the time that it takes for a perpetrator to get through your glazing system. 3M Impact Protection Adhesive, or 3M IPA, it cures in about 3 days, which is faster than the construction standard, which is Dow Corning 995. You'd be looking for about a 1/4 inch coverage on the frame to a 1/2 inch coverage and a 1/4 inch coverage on the window film or the glass. And this gives you a really nice side profile of the safe side of the glass. So this would be your 3M Interwoven Ultra S800 security film on the inside, with that wet glaze attachment system or that 3M IPA filling in that gap, because you can see here the gap between the edge of the film and the edge of the frame where our installers cut the film. And then that attachment system seals up that gap, meaning that the weak point of the system is actually back to being in the center, but it's way stronger than what it was. This is our tier 2 system. So what we realized in our years of being in the security film market, and we started off as a provider for national retailers, and although certainly the consequences of a smash and grab at a national retailer and an active shooter scenario at a school are very, very different. Part of what we're trying to achieve is kind of the same. We want to keep somebody out of that building for as long as possible. Well, we tried multiple combinations of using thicker films, but what it ended up doing was adding more pressure onto this adhesive. So we found out that thicker doesn't necessarily mean better. And if we actually add a 7mm film to the outside of the glass, so this would be where you would have 3M S800, that interwoven technology. If you add a 7mm weatherable clear film on the outside, What it does is it sandwiches all that broken glass together, creating a longer time before it can shard and start to tear the film. So it actually buys you about 3 times the time you would have than if you had a tier 1 installation with just that interior film. So response times, we touched on this a little bit earlier on, and we've spoken to districts all over the country. We're licensed and operate all over the country, and we've installed on over 320 districts nationwide. And in the conversations I've had, the response times tend to differ depending on whether you're intercity, rural, state you're in. All of these things can play a factor. But what we wanted to do was get some collaborative information on response time so we can have a look and present it to your teams to say, is it a tier 1 that can buy you up to 2 minutes? Is it a tier 2 that can buy you up to 6 minutes? And the information came out as follows. 32% of responders were there between 1 and 5 minutes to arrive on scene. 27% of responders arrived between 5 and 10 minutes after the attack began. But in only one case, outside law enforcement responders were less than 1 minute because the officers were already at the school. So even when the officers are already at school, it's taken up to a minute when we already know from the Nashville incident, and we'll show you from our active shooter demonstration, that forced entry time without security film is about 20 seconds. So buying time is absolutely crucial in these circumstances. So this is the video that we're referring to, and this has become the industry standard for security film for tier 1, tier 2. Multiple window film contractors, districts, states are using this terminology, tier 1, tier 2, 2 minutes up to 6 minutes. And we actually worked with Houston ISD. We partnered up with Houston PD. And what we wanted to do was create as realistic an active shooter demonstration as possible. We've seen multiple from other vendors, but what we wanted to say is, okay, we want the correct specification of glass on here that people have in their buildings, because we want to represent it in a very realistic circumstance. We want an active shooter who's going to do a center mass of shots with the right type of weaponry as well. And then we want them to attack with their feet, the butt of a gun. Because again, if we're going, we don't see active shooter events where they are attacking it with a handgun, for instance. It's usually some kind of automatic weapon. We don't see active shooter events where they're attacking glass with a fire axe. Again, it's usually kicking, it's usually the butt of a gun. And that's what we wanted to recreate in our active shooter demonstration. So I'll play this video and you can have a look. So remember, we talked about that Nashville timeline, 20 seconds for the perpetrator to reach through 1/4-inch tempered glass, almost exactly the same amount of time that our Houston Police Department partner was able to access that glass through. So our next panel is going to be our tier 1 system. So that safe side 3M ultra interwoven 8mm security film with the attachment system on the safe side as well. And I wanted to pause this video here because I think you get a really good side profile view here of those bullets passing through the film, passing through the glass, and the whole system and hitting that bank on the back. But if you notice, what happens is as soon as our Houston police officer there shoots the glass, it breaks into a million pieces. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that glass is tempered. If that glass breaks in spider web lines, it's more likely to be annealed glass, which is why we wanted to use tempered glass, because it is the standard specification from what you see on front entries and vestibules at our commercial building and school and K-12 partners. So again, remember, we're talking about our tier 1 system, conservatively up to 2 minutes with no breach based on that window profile. So this system is going to be our tier 2 system. So we have that 3M Ultra interwoven film on the safe side, the wet glaze attachment system around all 4 sides of the window film in the frame on the safe side, and then we've put that 7mm clear film sandwiching it together on the attack side. The difference you'll see between this panel and the next panel, this panel has a tinted version of that 3M ultra interwoven film on there. It can actually reduce visibility into where you have, larger congregation, media centers, cafeterias, things like that. The panel to the right-hand side, we wanted to look and feel more like a door, and it has the clear version of the same film on there. There's no cost difference between the clear and the tinted films. And I'd like to stop this video here. If you noticed on the tier 1 system, it matches up with the kind of ratios of time. When our police officer partner there was attacking the tier 1 system, it was about a minute before he created a hole in the film when his foot went through it, and then 2 minutes to, there's the time that we're conservatively saying that it's buying up to 2 minutes. On the Tri-Shield system, on our tier 2 system, it's 3 minutes before he creates a hole. So we've got a multiplication of 3, which actually relates back to the 6 minutes for access delay time for tier 2. And we'll stop that video there. So you can see, again, with the tier 2 system, we're about 6 minutes conservatively, up to 6 minutes with no breach. Again, that's based on that framing system. It's based on 1/4-inch tempered glass, which is what the standard specifications for front entries are. So, and we can share that video with you as well. So our tier 3, brand new to the market. I believe NGS are the only company who have the product S2400 at the moment. It's a 24mm laminate. It's not a true window film. It is a security laminate. It's elongation at break, and I know we're talking about tensile tear strength before, how hard that film is to tear. With the new window laminate, what we're going to talk about is elongation at break. A standard security film's elongation at break is somewhere between 100 and 200. Now, what elongation at break means is when you pull that film and stretch it, how far can you stretch it before it breaks? And because the 3M S2400 isn't made of the same polyester that security films are made of, it actually starts to gum up and it starts to pull back together, even when you do create a hole in that. In our initial testing, we kind of went to town with it. We were hitting it with sledgehammers, and what was happening, that sledgehammer would eventually create a hole through it, but then the film would start to kind of almost heal again, and that sledgehammer would get stuck and it was very, very difficult to pull it back through. It cures way faster. So 80% cured within 48 hours. The average cure time for a security film, like the 3M Ultra 800, would be somewhere between 20 and 30 days. That cure time for the window film laminate is 48 hours. And again, we're going to be doing the active shooter demonstration in Houston next week. But our expectation, and based on this 610% elongation at break strength, is that we're going to see 6 to 8 times better performance from a 3M S2400 than its security film counterparts. Tier 4, a riot glass. This is a very good side profile view of a riot glass product here. This would be your glass system with the frame here. Riot glass comes in this extruded aluminum frame. It actually screws into the frame system here and here. And then it has this polycarbonate on the outside, which is a UV coating on it, meaning that when somebody attacks it, rather than, it has some flex so it can absorb the pressure, but there's about a ½ inch gap between the polycarbonate and the glass, meaning that in the majority of occasions, unless it's a door, the glass doesn't break. So you don't need to board up and you don't need to replace the glass. But this is an access denial system. Everything we've talked about to this point is access delay. It's there to buy you time. This is an access denial system. This is an example of an installation that we did for Murphy Oils. We see a lot of retailers adding riot glass to the exterior of their stores, especially if they're getting targeted frequently. We actually got sole source for this product from the GSA for federal courthouses nationwide. Obviously, we're potentially coming up in a period of civil unrest again. So, government, military, building security is going to become a hot button again. This is a very good access denial system. It is a little bit higher cost, which is why it doesn't fit into, again, a lot of K through 12 categories or budgets for that matter. But it is an option out there to upgrade your security with an access denial system. And this, again, gives you a real good kind of profile of how it fits in, those self-tapping screws, and there's a proprietary screws. So you can't even come in with tools and undo these unless unless you're a riot glass dealer. And again, just some videos to show you how it does perform. These are some national retail partners. So you've got riot glass on that outer door, and you can see him attacking it with a crowbar. The idea is that if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there. Clearly this young gentleman didn't. And he isn't able to get through. And as you can see as well, he doesn't actually manage to break the glass. So there's no board up there. There's no glass replacement there. And there might be some light scuffing to the riot glass panel. But again, that can either be buffed out or the riot glass polycarbonate can be replaced itself. So here we have a couple of different perpetrators. This is a far more hardcore. We got a sledgehammer attack here on a door. So the riot glass actually sits a little bit closer to the glazing profile on a door, and you can see the glass does break with that force because it is flexing, it is breaking, it has to absorb some of that pressure. So as you can see there, 19 strikes. The glass did break because of that flex in the riot glass, but 19 strikes and he wasn't able to gain access. Again, there's not an immediate need to board up because the riot glass is still there protecting and securing the building. More of an opportunistic approach there with the cinder block attack, walking past the store, doesn't realize there's riot glass on there, throws the cinder block and it just bounces straight back. There's no glass breakage, and again, it's denying access. Riot glass is one of the only clear products on the market to achieve both small missile impact and large missile impact in terms of Miami-Dade windstorm specifications, and we'll show you this is the large missile impact test. So both large missile impact and small missile impact tested and passed. Tier 5 is going to be our level 1 through level 7 ballistic glazing. You can see the UL 752 test and classification for ballistic resistant materials. Again, it's very important to know, if any K through 12 or government military building, any commercial building is looking at a ballistic, any ballistic product, what you're trying to achieve, because again, we've seen some testing with annealed glass, as we spoke about, with security film laminated together, where they can achieve level 1. Well, a lot of active shooter scenarios are actually perpetrated with handguns, but they're more office or commercial building based. When we're looking at K through 12, what you're looking at is more of the assault rifle, which, as you can see, that level 1 ballistic category is not going to achieve. This is an installation we did for DeKalb County Schools in Georgia, and as you can kind of see here, we had to rip out the entire framing system with that level 3 ballistic glass, with that level 3 ballistic frame, and with that outer frame that's level 3 ballistic as well. So it's there's a far larger cost, far larger lead time, but that product is available as well. Visual security. So again, we've got some examples here of where there are areas where you would want to reduce visibility. For instance, this crossover bridge with Decatur High School in Alabama. They had students and faculty walking from one building to another, and they asked us to put something together to reduce visibility because of targeting. And we were able to provide that Decatur High School and lettering there to reduce visibility. And you can see here we have an interior office space. This is a custom graphics. NGS have our own in-house graphic designers. We have our own in-house print capabilities, and installers nationwide and subcontracted installers nationwide as well. Here we have a silver reflective film, reducing visibility from wherever the greater source of light is. And this was actually a multi-state rollout for National Guard recruitment centers. There were active military being targeted in recruitment centers a few years ago, and we actually installed a perforated film. So think about what you see on a train or on a bus, where when you're looking at the image from the outside, your mind's mapping that graphic together. When you're on the inside, your mind maps those light dots so you can actually see out. And it reduces the ability from somebody from the outside being able to target any military personnel on the inside. On the other side, the safe side of that glass as well, there's also 3M Ultra Interwoven S800 and that impact protection adhesive for bomb blast mitigation as well. One-way mirror films. So again, we're seeing this installed in the interior of schools, because if goodness forbid that a perpetrator does get into your school, we've been asked to bring a product into schools and install it where your perpetrator can't see who's in a room, because as soon as you go into that lockdown situation where your classroom or your doors are locked, the lights are turned off, the greater source of light is always going to be on the corridor side, and we can actually reduce visibility from that side of the glass with a visual security one-way mirror film. So why NGS? NGS, we are the largest window film contractor in the country. We installed over 11,000 projects last year. We, for the 4th time in 2023, won 3M Large Markets National Dealer of the Year. We're 3M's only platinum tier dealer in America. The platinum tier has to do with how much we purchase, how many installs we have, how many 3M certified installers, and how many projects we install in a year as well. But as we spoke about, that platinum tier dealer status provides additional benefits for our customers, like warranty and things like that. Contracting vehicles, we have a list of contracting vehicles. We are on TIPS, we are on CMAS, we are on Purchasing Cooperative of America, and we are on the GSA schedule. And the reason we involved ourselves in all of these purchasing cooperatives was because we figured out very early on, working with our K through 12 partners, that the purchasing process is very difficult and very labor intensive for you guys, and on the back end for RFPs and things like that for everybody. The purchasing co-ops allowed us to provide pre-bid, pre-negotiated, pre-discounted pricing, with you guys having the ability to purchase direct, no bid, and still ensure you're getting competitive pricing. We are finalists in the GSA Green Proving Ground, and if there are any sustainability projects, we provide our own in-house engineering as well. Since 2019, NGS has installed 321 plus school districts, 200 plus in Texas. The reason that there was such an influx of installations in Texas, for those of you who don't know, the TEA, the Texas Education Authority, actually mandated that all school districts in Texas have security film on their entry doorways, on any adjacent glass, and any other windows which are close enough. And they were provided with federal funding to do so. So that's still going on in Texas. And again, it kind of follows that zoned approach to security that we saw as well. So our zoned approach, we're looking at zone 1s, which are main entrances, zone 2s, which are secondary exits. So again, these are going to be your perimeter windows, and zone 3 would be categorized as anything interior. So as you can probably tell, they're categorized in terms of main risk. If somebody's going to pull up to your building and try and force access, they're probably going to do it at your entry vestibule or your main entrance. If they can't then get in there, they're going to move to a secondary entry area. What NGS did as well is we came up with some proprietary software. Historically, what we were finding and what we were doing as well was surveying schools, coming back with a total square footage for the stakeholders and saying, here's your total pricing. And the response was, yep, that sounds great. You know, you're competitive. Let's go with that. What we found, though, that there was a level of transparency that we wanted to add, and a level of functionality that we wanted to provide our K through 12 partners as well. So we built a piece of software that provides you with, I know it's hard to see on here, it'll provide you with a building name. So if you've got multiple buildings in your district, the building name would be there. The zone would be there as well. So remember, we would have zone 1, which would be your main entries, zone 2, which would be all your other perimeter glass, and then zone 3 would be anything on the interior. But it actually tells you the square footage of the glass. Then because we buy the material on rolls, it'll tell you that any kind of waste factor, linear footage, the install costs, everything is laid out. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to filter it in real time. So if you've got a particular building that you're looking at that maybe shutting down somewhere down the future, or it's just over budget, you can filter it and it'll update your pricing in real time. The other functionality that it has is when we provide you with that software and the survey binder, which will give you elevation pictures of all of the glazing that we're going to be installing film on. It'll provide you with an overhead picture, which is your emergency escape plan. If we can't get that, we'll provide a Google overhead document with it all marked up. Is that when you walk your school to do a QC walk, or after we've installed, or we walk the school, we know exactly where we should be seeing film and where we shouldn't be seeing film. So it made it really transparent, and everybody's expectation levels got met in the end up. The streamlined requisition part we talked about, we're a GSA contract holder, the Purchasing Cooperative of America, CMAS, TIPS, TextBuy, all of these purchasing cooperatives as well, to try and make the purchasing as frictionless as possible for our partners. This video we put together with, we wanted to look at 3 different states. We wanted to look at 3 different school districts that we'd worked with. And really the directive we gave them was, why did you choose window film? Why did you choose 3M products? And what was your experience with NGS? And this is a 4 or 5 minute video that will kind of play through for you. And it goes through all of them. So we have Osceola County in Florida. We have Mansfield ISD in Texas. and we have Forsyth County in Georgia.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Approximately how many people were in the classroom?
Sheriff, is there a reason he targeted certain rooms?
When will students be allowed back to school?
The minute that I think I'm doing a pretty good job, that's when I need to start thinking, what did I miss? I've spent 15 years in law enforcement, including supervising a major crimes task force. I was a SWAT commander. And after retiring from law enforcement, I started in the corporate security sector. And then in 2018, Parkland happened. And I felt that leveraging my experience to promote school safety would be beneficial here in Texas.
Mansfield ISD is 35,000 students and 43 campuses. My job is to protect every student. We spend a lot of time making sure that our buildings are in the shape that they need to be for students and teachers to do what they need to do.
In Florida, we did have the unfortunate tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. If I can take that burden off of people so that they don't have to worry about their child while they're at school, then yeah, I'll do that job every day.
Number one on our list every day would be the safety and the security of the students and the staff in the district. Thinking about the most important thing for ensuring the safety of a school system, and that is a good climate and culture in each of our facilities in the district.
Going hot!
For school safety professionals, now it's more important than ever to really think about emotional well-being, mental well-being, but we cannot lose sight of the importance of physical security, trying to balance a secure place with a welcoming learning environment. In other words, we don't want to make our schools look like a prison.
We want to think about somebody being on the perimeter of your building, and we want to try to prevent that somebody from seeing large groups of kids.
The window film on the exterior is a very powerful covering that will serve the purpose of not permitting someone just to look through the window and see if anybody's inside. Now, if we do have a situation, a threat does come onto a campus, the window film buys a large amount of time.
Security film has the ability to maintain the positive aspects of glass and limit the weak spots by making glass very resilient and very strong. And as a former SWAT commander, I know how difficult it is to bypass security film.
What safety film does is it gives school administrators, school resource officers time to respond.
Knowing that someone can't walk around to these large windows that we have and shatter those windows and get into the school, that's been very important for us.
We can keep doing everything in our power to make sure that we don't experience tragedy. We can keep educating ourselves. We can keep doing what is right by our students, our staff, our community members.
The attention to detail that we received in every aspect of the project really set NGS apart. And then the customer service that I got along the way was amazing. So that was a great experience for us.
I looked at the install and I'm very impressed. It looks flawless.
We're very proud about all the efforts that we make in our school district for the safety of our schools, making sure that we create the best possible environment for our kids.
And I'll stop that video there. It goes on to the end to see the combinations of products that they have. But a pretty powerful video, and again, I hope it shows just what sets NGS apart and the level of service that we provide. And the reason we do these webinars is to provide a level of education so that so that everybody can make an informed decision. So a couple of testimonials here. All our videos are available on our YouTube channel, and also feel free to have a look at our website. There's videos and webinars available on our website as well. Any questions that you have after the presentation, feel free to send me a direct email or call. And at this point in time, I will open up to questions.
All right, we do actually have a question, Jamie. One question that came in is, are there any issues with areas that have seasonal temperature and weather changes, 95-degree direct sun to 17-degree and snow during winter? So I think the question basically is, how does your product work when it comes to temperature?
Yeah, and we've installed all over the country. The only issues that we see are actually on the installation process, not the way the product performs once it's on the glass. Once it's actually attached to the glass and the attachment system is on, it'll mechanically bond to the glass, as said, within about 20 or 30 days. The issue that we have is we have to be wary of temperatures which are too cold where we install it, because they use a wet install. It's called a slip solution, and that slip solution can start to freeze up if the weather's too cold. But in terms of heat, all of the films that are exterior facing have a top coat, which is a UV inhibitor. So it rejects about 99.9% of UVA and UVB. All the interior films on the adhesive actually have that UV inhibitor as well, so your film doesn't discolor, and it should be fine whatever your climate.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions have come in. Can Tier 1 and Tier 2 films be installed with mirror tint and or perforated vinyl?
Yeah, so again, we've very much like the National Guard installation, where we had that Tier 1 system on the inside, that 3M S800 on the safe side, that wet glaze attachment system all around 4 sides on the inside, and then we had that perforated film on the outside to reduce visibility. And that's typical of what we would see on a lot of K through 12 buildings where they have Spirit graphics or something on the outside as well. In terms of the mirror tint, yes, we've with Pinellas County in Florida, we actually installed security film on their interior doors with one-way mirror film on there as well, so that they could have both the security and the reduced visibility. But remember, there is that tinted version of that Ultra 800 security film as well that will reduce visibility and wherever the greater source of light is. So there's a couple of different ways to achieve that, and depending on what the circumstance is how we would look at that.
Got it. Another really good question here. I was thinking kind of the same thing. Have you had any issues with local fire codes? I imagine there are scenarios where firefighters might need to break windows for access. How do you coordinate these potentially conflicting needs?
Yeah, so in conversation with the district, they've got a couple of options. So in terms of getting out the building, remember the attachment system's usually on the inside, so it actually breaks out a little bit easier than it breaks in the way. But that's not really answering the question that was asked by Mike there. So remember, when you've got your emergency responders, your fire emergency responders coming to the building, they're coming with tools to be able to get through the glass. When we're looking at an active shooter, they're not coming with tools. We've seen districts that have specifically left windows uncovered, so that the firefighters can gain access. But in the circumstance where they would have to go through the film, they would be aware of the tools that they would have to use. It's kind of one of these rock and a hard place, though, because you don't want to leave access too open, too easy, in case of an active shooter scenario. But if in the case of a fire scenario, you want to make access easy enough for firefighters to be able to do their job. So,
got it. Patrick is asking, does Tier 3 laminate require reframing, full installation of a 1/4 inch glass?
No, the Tier 3 laminate will go on your existing glazing, and then it would have that wet glaze attachment around all four sides as well. So that's that 3M IPA. Again, these are passive systems, so they don't involve any reframing, any reglazing, anything like that.
And are there any issues with using cleaners on the film?
3M films have a scratch-resistant hard coat on there. We would tell you to treat it kind of the same way that you would with your glass. And don't use bristle brushes in terms of cleaning. You want to use soft sponges and any glass cleaner. Typically, just as an additional tip for you guys out there, all of our window film installers and window film and window cleaners that we use a combination of baby shampoo and water. It doesn't streak and there's no harsh chemicals. So little additional tip for you there.
Yeah, I learned something new today on that. Might use that at home. Let's give about another maybe 10, 15 seconds to see if there's going to be any additional questions. Really good questions. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we get one from Brian.
Here's one here. Rough cost of the different tier systems.
Yeah, so the one thing, the caveat I'll give you at the beginning of that is remember we're gauging a square foot cost versus a linear foot cost because the IPA goes around all four sides of the window. For a rough gauge in terms of tier 1, if you're thinking around about $15 to $18 per square foot for tier 1, which that's going to buy you up to 2 minutes. For our tier 2, somewhere between $23 and $27 per square foot. For tier 2, and then our tier 3 is going to be between $40 and $50 per square foot.
Perfect. And we'll give some time if there's any additional questions.
Yeah. And I said, if anybody thinks of any questions after, feel free to.
I'll ask you a question. Well, maybe the last question here. Is there anything that we're not thinking about that typically gets asked that is just very important that maybe you want to put out there?
Actually, no. I mean, I think most of the questions that come up are a lot of the questions and that we're seeing. Just the important things are if you're using a product from a manufacturer, make sure that the contractor you're using, whether it's NGS or not, obviously we would love it to be NGS, are certified for that particular product. The other just buyer beware thing, and I know I touched on this a couple of times through the presentation, is there are contractors out there who are presenting these window or security film products as having ballistic properties. The International Window Film Association, who are the only governing body of the window film industry and are made up of representatives from all the major manufacturers, have raised concerns and basically said there isn't a security film on the market which has any ballistic properties other than to reduce spall, which is that glass that kind of pops out when you kind of shoot it. So
got it. And then contact information to get a quote.
Yeah, you can reach out to myself. It's jamie@filmsandgraphics.com. I actually manage our team of reps across the country, and we have representatives everywhere in the country as well. So I can quarterback those requests to whoever the appropriate representative would be, but that's JAMIE@filmsandgraphics.com, or you can go directly to our website, filmsandgraphics.com, and put an inquiry through there.
Perfect. Well, Jamie, we really appreciate all the information you gave us today, and we appreciate the partnership. And thank you for everyone for joining us today, and thank you to our presenter, Jamie. CSBA is dedicated to providing update resources to school board members. To view our recent webinars, be sure to check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/CSBA video. And if you're interested in attending future CSBA webinars, please go to our website at www.csba.org/webinars to register for upcoming webinars as well. Again, many thanks, Jamie. With that, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Take it easy.